A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the National Biodiversity Authority, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and on my own behalf, it's my pleasant duty as well as a privilege to welcome you all to the inaugural session of the 15th National Annual Meeting of the State Biodiversity Board and the newly established Union Territory Biodiversity Councils. I would like to specially welcome Shri Prakash Javadekar ji, the Honorable Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, who has very kindly agreed to deliver the inaugural address in this meeting today. I also take this opportunity to welcome Shri R.P. Gupta, Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, who has very kindly accepted our invitation to chair this inaugural event and also to deliver his keynote address. Sir, 2 weeks back, you were in another event of NBA to discuss the electronic PBR, and your presence today and the keynote address to follow will further inspire us to redouble our efforts for the conservation of biological diversity. Thank you very much, sir, for sparing your time. I take this opportunity to welcome Ms. Uma Devi, Additional Secretary, Dr. Sajit Bajpayee, Joint Secretary, Shri Tarun Kathula, Director, and other officers of the MOEFC for their gracious presence today and for their valuable guidance all along in organizing this event. I would like to welcome our very eminent and very distinguished chairpersons, co-chairpersons, members of the various committees of the NBA. I welcome the 5 distinguished non-official members of the National Biodiversity Authority, which, as you know, is the highest decision-making body in the context of the Biological Diversity Act. I would like to welcome the chairpersons, the member secretaries, scientists and staff of the SBBs and the UTBCs who have joined us in very large number from all parts of the country, although it happens to be a virtual meeting today. I welcome the representatives of the UNDP India, GIZ India, WWF India, and the directors of ZSI, BSI, WII, and other scientific institutions in the country, and a large number of individual experts and former chairpersons and members of the NBA committees. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first time that this annual meeting is being held in a virtual mode. And I must say that despite the fact that COVID-19 pandemic has affected travel and has imposed new norms of social distancing, the NBA in the last 11 months, I am very pleased to say, has been able to very nicely cope up with this new normal, and we have been able to organize a large number of meetings and consultations in a virtual mode. For each annual meeting, the NBA decides a theme for discussions, for consultations. Last year, we had discussions on the external and collaborative projects which were operating in NBA. That was the theme for last year. And this year, we have decided to work out that we need to know more about the NBA committees as the thematic area for the focus discussion in this annual meeting. You are aware that NBA operates through committees which are chaired by very eminent professionals in the subject area of their expertise. So when we had our internal planning meeting, we decided that we must reach out to our stakeholders and invite our committee chairs and co-chairs to share their experiences, the kind of challenges we are facing, and what is the way ahead. And in doing so, also seek the inputs from other stakeholders. So I'm very pleased to say that NBA currently has 10 committees, and the chairman and co-chairman of all these 10 committees are present today and would be making their interventions in the technical session 1 and 2 that would follow after the inaugural session. I do have an interesting fact to share. Through these committees, we have engaged over 100 professionals in various specialized areas of biological diversity conservation, and from different institutions in the country, from different bodies. They bring their experience. And if we just total them up, it comes to about 3,500 years of professional experience. So that is the kind of experience which is backing the MBA and is helping us to meet the current challenges. And this kind of an experience is not very easily available to other institutions and entities. We are making very productive use of their wisdom and of their experience, and I place my appreciation on record for their excellent guidance and support to NBA. I'm also pleased to say that in the last 1 year or so, we have made tremendous progress in the implementation of the BD Act by establishing over 2.68 lakh BMCs and preparing over 2.28 lakh PBRs. In percentage terms, these are about 97 and 83%. So this is a huge progress which we have been able to make with the support of everyone who is present here and many more people who are working and helping the NBA. At the same time, I must flag that we are aware of the Q issue or Q for quality. Many people have raised their concerns about the quality of PBR, about the quantum of effort which is going on. And I'm very pleased to say that MOEF has constituted 2 PBR quality evaluation committees, and their chairpersons are with us today, and they would be making their presentations and sharing that what their experiences are and what kind of an effort we are making to deal with quality issues. I must say from my side that we are aware of these quality issues, and the quality issues have to be dealt with in an incremental way. We cannot assure that on day one the quality would be there. We need the support of all the scientific organizations, particularly the ZSI, the BSI, the WII, in making sure that right kind of information goes into it. In the program for these 2 days, I need to specially mention that tomorrow morning we will be having a special address by Mr. Justice K. Ramakrishnan, the judicial member of the National Green Tribunal, Southern Zone, Chennai, who was instrumental in giving the judgment Bal Singh versus others relating to BMCs and PBRs. And I also understand that he very kindly agreed to be with us in the inaugural session today. So welcome, sir, for your presence here and for agreeing to speak to us tomorrow morning. With these words, I would like to thank you once again for your participation in this virtual meeting, which has been made possible by the excellent work of NIC, led by Mr. Anil Kumar, Mr. Anadurai in MOEFCC, and my own colleague, Justin Mohan, the Secretary of the NBA, and his dedicated team in putting this event together. So thank you very much. And I now take this opportunity to invite Madam Uma Devi, the Additional Secretary, Biodiversity in the Ministry, to deliver her opening remarks. She has been instrumental in all these months in helping us and guiding us in seeing to it that the biodiversity agenda is right up on the top. So, ma'am, please come in for your opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mathur. Shri R.P. Gupta, Ministry of Environment and Forest. Shri Vinod Mathur, Chairman, Biodiversity Authority. My colleagues in the Ministry, my colleagues in the Biodiversity Authority, PCCFs of all the state forest departments, chairpersons and member secretaries of the state biodiversity boards, panelists, and the participants of this meeting, a very, very warm welcome to all of you. It's an honor and privilege to address this august gathering at this national meeting of state biodiversity boards today. The state biodiversity boards are an important component of three-tier biodiversity governance in India, with National Biodiversity Authority at the national level, state biodiversity boards at the regional level, and the biodiversity management committees at the local level. At present, We have state biodiversity boards constituted in all the states and biodiversity councils in the union territories. The basic responsibility of the state biodiversity boards is to conserve biodiversity and regulate and promote sustainable use of biodiversity, along with ensuring fair and equitable benefit sharing to the local people who are the conservers of biodiversity. At present, as mentioned by Dr. Mathur, there are around 2.8 lakh biodiversity management committees constituted in India, and which is around 97%. And biodiversity management committees, they play a very important role in conservation and regulation for sustainable use of biodiversity, and are entrusted with the responsibility of documenting biodiversity in the form of people's biodiversity registers involving local communities. Currently, around 2 lakh biodiversity registers have been prepared by various biodiversity management committees in the country. Very happy to know that few states like Kerala have gone a step ahead in documenting biodiversity by digitizing these biodiversity registers. As we all know, Prakriti Rakshati Rakshita, meaning thereby, if you protect nature, nature will protect us. As mentioned in our ancient scripts, this gives us an indication that India has been in the forefront in nature and biodiversity conservation since time immemorial. India is a mega biodiverse country with 8% of the global biodiversity, with diverse systems covering forest, mountains, to marine, to coastal and agricultural biodiversity. It is also the world's 8th center of origin of cultivated plants, with 51 species of cereals and millets, 104 species of fruits, 27 species of spices and condiments. 6 systems of traditional medicine, depending on the nature, are practiced in India, which include Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, Yoga, Naturopathy, and Homeopathy. We are one of the few countries to have exceeded the Aichi Target 11, with 24% of the geographical area under biodiversity conservation, and Aichi Target 16 by operationalizing a benefit sharing mechanism as envisaged in the Nagoya Protocol. Ministry is in the process of finalizing a biodiversity mission for human well-being, which is one of the 8 missions launched by Prime Minister's Council for Science and Technology and Innovation. This mission covers programs related to digitization of biodiversity registers, One Health initiative based on the linkages between biodiversity laws and emergence of infectious diseases, ecosystem services, biodiversity and climate change, biodiversity and agriculture, bioeconomy, and lastly, the capacity building. While the mission document is under interministerial consultations and got delayed because of COVID, Ministry is in the process of preparation of pilot demonstration projects, that is, establishment of Jaiva Vividhita Kendras in 13 districts covering various biogeographical regions of the country, with preparation of electronic people's biodiversity registers and biodiversity demonstration centers as the main components. Apart from implementing biodiversity conservation through traditional measures, Ministry is also focusing on other effective conservation measures and is in the process of preparation of guidelines for implementation. With these words, I would again welcome all the participants for this two-day consultative meeting. And I'm sure this two-day meeting involving experts from various aspects of biodiversity will help our officers in better understanding and implementation of biodiversity conservation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for providing those excellent opening remarks and providing the details of the new policy initiatives in the form of the National Mission for Biodiversity and Human Well-being, which the entire biodiversity community eagerly awaits. I would now like to move on the program and request Shri R.P. Gupta, Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, who is presiding over the function today, for his keynote address. So over to you, sir, for your address, please.
Thank you, Dr. Mathur. And I heartily welcome all the participants of this August gathering today. It's my pleasure to meet you all virtually on this 15th meet of State Biodiversity Board and Union Territory Biodiversity Councils, which is being organized by NBA. I'm glad to see a good participation of state biodiversity boards and recently established Union Territory Biodiversity Councils in the meeting. I hope you are able to hear me. Dr. Mathur, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Very clear, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. As we all know, and as the Additional Secretary has pointed out, our country since time immemorial has had a culture of not just conserving and protecting nature, but also living in harmony with the nature. The emergence of COVID-19, it has emphasized the fact that an unregulated exploitation of natural resources coupled with unsustainable food habits and consumption pattern lead to destruction of the systems that support human life. However, COVID-19 has also shown that nature can still be recovered, restored, and used sustainably. As we are approaching the end of UN Decade on Biodiversity 2021 to 20, there is an urgent need to accelerate action to conserve biodiversity. As AS has again pointed out, with over 24% of the area under biodiversity conservation, we have exceeded our target of 70% and also achieved the HE target of target 16 by operationalizing Nagoya Protocol on access and benefit sharing. Friends, the biodiversity conservation and the convention which took place has three main areas, three thrust areas. First happens to be conservation of biodiversity. Second, sustainable use of its components. And third, is fair and equitable sharing. India is a party to Convention on Biodiversity, Biological Diversity and Nagoya Protocol on Access and Benefit Sharing, which are implemented through Biodiversity Act. We are one of the first few countries to have developed a very comprehensive legislation on biodiversity. Many countries in the world are looking up to the experience gained by India on access and benefit sharing, especially in the context of Nagoya Protocol. Friends, that is where I think it becomes extremely important for us that we see the things in a comprehensively and in a proper perspective. As we see, the main aim of Biodiversity Convention and Biodiversity Act happens to be conservation of biodiversity, sustainable use of its components, and third happens to be fair and equitable sharing. It is extremely essential that we keep the priorities in mind. Conservation happens to be the first and foremost priority, followed by sustainable use, and fair and equitable sharing that comes as a subsidiary to these two. When world is looking at us, particularly for our experience in access and benefit sharing, we must be extremely conscious of the fact that we present a very balanced and fair model. Our experience should not in any way portray a lesson that can negatively impact the whole biodiversity and particularly access and benefit sharing. That is why I said conservation of biodiversity is the first and foremost thing. Without that, when we talk about fair and equitable sharing and access and benefit sharing, it does not cut much ice. Let me also very bluntly and clearly tell, an impression should not go out, which currently is going out, that access and benefit sharing somehow has become the sole goal of this act. We must have number of conservation measures to show before we talk about access and benefit sharing. A lot of good work has been done in this area, I must say. The constitution of biodiversity committees and People's Biodiversity Register is an area of work where we must commend ourselves. Dr. Mathur mentioned the quality issues. Of course, when we are talking about roughly about 2.8 lakh biodiversity committees and the people who are part of these committees, the background of these people, we simply cannot presume and expect that from day one they will be doing a work of preparing PBRs which will be of highest quality. The quality will come with time. The functioning of biodiversity committees, the way it is expected, will also come in time. And it is in these efforts that NBA and State Biodiversity Board and also Union Territory Biodiversity Councils, their role becomes extremely important. They must guide, they must monitor and provide the expertise to these committees to prepare the register, which are useful and usable. Coming back to access and benefit sharing, my request to the State Biodiversity Board and NVA, which is present today, is that an act and its provisions, they of course provide a lot of authority and lot of powers in this arena. And it is also quite possible that these provisions can be interpreted to widen its scope to any extent. After all, everything is a biological resource. I don't think there is anything on this planet which is not a biological resource. The human being itself, its genes, its bacteria, viruses inside human body, they are all biological resource. So I think everything under the sun can be covered under biological resource, and we can fairly or unfairly try to extend the definition of biodiversity and start asking for the benefit sharing. But that is where the wisdom comes. And wisdom is in properly recognizing what exactly is biological resource and which biological resource actually requires access and benefit sharing. Which one is the community resource and which one is the private resource. Whether it helps the cause of conservation, whether it is not hindering the process of innovation and research. These are the issues which must be very delicately considered before we start or before we start taking action on access and benefit sharing. Unfortunately, let me also be very clear, an impression is going around that access and benefit sharing has become the sole purpose and the sole instrument which is being used today. And its misuse, particularly we seem to have got an instrument which can be used for harassing the community and the business community. That is the thing which I request and I am guarding against all you people. And a very good initiative in terms of biodiversity conservation. It should not get a bad name and should not suffer because of the actions which we take. Biodiversity conservation is for the benefit of the society, for benefit of the nation. It is not for hindering the progress, the innovations, the research, and the benefit which derive out of biodiversity. I had a urge to quote some example, but I am restraining myself. So I hope the message which I wanted to convey has been adequately conveyed. There is a lot of good work which NBA has done, and I commend them for this work. Biodiversity boards at the state level, they have also done a number of states, for example in Kerala, the digitizing of biodiversity register has been an exemplary work. And these are the kind of works which we must spread and we must implement in all the states. The ministry has been taking concerted initiatives for effective implementation of the Act. Even though there has been challenges which need to be addressed for effective implementation of the Act, like enhancing the institutional and human resource capacities at national, state, national and local levels, mobilizing financial resources, establishment of BMCs at local body level, and documentation of biodiversity in the form of People's Biodiversity Register. Further lack of adequate awareness and capacity building programs among the stakeholders needs immediate attention to comply with the provisions of the Act, and Ministry has been aware of it and has been taking the initiative. I am sure that the expert and eminent people who have gathered here will have very fruitful deliberation and share their experiences in this 2 days workshop. I hope this meeting will provide an opportunity for exchanging views and to discuss the issues to come up with new ideas for biodiversity conservation and effective implementation of Biodiversity Act and rules and associated guidelines. I wish you all success in your deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your extremely incisive remarks and first highlighting the need to care for nature, and then also saying to us that in the tenets of the Convention on Biological Diversity, the first tenet is on the conservation of biological resource that we need to follow. And we need to be absolutely clear in our approach towards conservation, which definitely includes the access and benefit sharing. But we have to be, as you said, reasonable, we have to be fair, and we need to get over the impression which is being created that we are only into resource generation. I would like to assure you that we are working towards that. We want to follow a balanced and fair approach. We need to see that the innovative approaches and the innovation in research, which India badly needs, our scientific community needs do not get impaired by any provision of the Act. And if they are impairing, we need to correct them, we need to amend them. You've also highlighted that the BMCs will continue to need some more hand-holding. Building of capacity will be an issue. And on behalf of the authority and also on behalf of the State Biodiversity Board and the Council, we will definitely follow the path that you have given and see that our country not only stands top at the conservation agenda, but anything and everything which is required to be done. And as you have already said, that this participatory governance structure, which is so unique for the country, with NBA at the top, with the SBBs and the UTBCs in the middle, and the biodiversity management committees which are there. This is the three-way structure in which we need to put forward and move with our conservation agenda. So thank you very much again, sir, for sharing your thoughts and very valuable interventions, which we all need to follow. With this, sir, we would like to move ahead with the program. And we have the next on the line is the inaugural address by our Honorable Minister Shri Prakash Javadekar ji, who for his very busy commitments was not or is not able to be with us physically, but he has been very kind enough to send his message to all of us. And I would request the NIC team to kindly play his message for the benefit of all who are present here. Thank you.
जैव विविधता हमारी ताकत, विविधता में एकता देश की विशेषता. Biodiversity is our strength, and our slogan has always been unity in diversity, and that is the India's speciality. We have only 2.5% of the world's landmass. We have 16% of human population of the world. We have 16% of the cattle population of the world. And we have only 4% of natural water resources. Still, we have 8% of biodiversity. This is huge. Why this happens? Why in other countries, despite much more area and very less population, burden on area is less, still they don't have a biodiversity larger than their proportion of land. In India, it is nearly threefold. Why? उसका उत्तर सही है कि हम हमारी जीवन शैली और भारतीय कल्पनाएं चराचर सृष्टि को अपने जीवन का हिस्सा मानती है. हम खाते समय भी थोड़ा खाद्य प्राणियों के लिए, पशुओं के लिए, पक्षियों के लिए छोड़ते हैं. कीटक हो, पक्षी हो, प्राणी हो, पेड़ हो, उनकी पूजा करने वाला एकमात्र देश दुनिया का है, वो हिंदुस्तान है. और इसलिए हमारे जीवन पद्धति का ये परिणाम है. हर गांव में विलेज फॉरेस्ट बन गया, वो लोगों ने बनाया. तो ये ताकत है भारत की. और इसलिए आज जो बायोडाइवर्सिटी काउंसिल की मीटिंग है, आप सभी लोग इकट्ठा हो, मुझे बहुत खुशी है. कोरोना का संकट जल्दी समाप्त होगा. फिर मैं कुछ गांवों में मैं जाकर प्रवास करूंगा, देखूंगा बायोडाइवर्सिटी रजिस्टर कैसे बने हैं. क्योंकि अगर जीव विविधता की अगर सारी टिप्पणियां गांव की समिति ही कर सकती है, वो अगर करेंगे तो यहाँ क्या होता था और अब क्या लुप्त हुआ है वो समझेगा, और फिर वो लगाने का रास्ता खुल जाएगा. यही कल्पना है बायोडाइवर्सिटी के. और कौन कितना जीव विविधता को खत्म कर रहा है, तो वो अगर पता चलेगा तो हम उनको कहेंगे कि आप दवाओं के लिए, बाकी कामों के लिए अगर यहाँ से मेडिसिनल प्लांट हो या बाकी हो निकाल रहे हो, तो उतने ही वापस लगाओ, उसका भी पालन पोषण भरण करो। और ये गांव समितियां बहुत अच्छा काम कर सकती है, क्योंकि प्रकृति बचेगी तो हम बचेंगे। इफ नेचर इज सेव्ड, इट विल सेव यू। तो ये एक तरीका है, और इसलिए जेडएसआई हो, बीएसआई हो, वाइल्ड लाइफ इंस्टीट्यूट हो, ये भी एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका इस सब में करेंगे। मैं दो ही आह्वान करूंगा, वो है मेन स्ट्रीमिंग बायोडाइवर्सिटी अक्रॉस ऑल सेक्टर्स in order to conserve nature, reverse its losses, to secure a healthy planet to our current and future generations. ये बहुत जरूरी है। जो मैंने वर्णन किया कि कमेटी क्या करेगी, कमेटी यही करेगी कि गांव में कितनी जीव विविधता थी, अब क्या नहीं है, जो दूसरा निकाल के ले जा रहा है उसको ज्यादा लगाने का और पालन पोषण का काम बताएंगे, या खर्चा देकर हम काम करेंगे। We have to ensure the benefits of nature conservation flow to the poor and resource dependent communities who are the true custodians of biodiversity. गांव में भी सब प्रकार के लोग होते हैं, कुछ लोग तोड़ने में, ध्वंस करने में, प्रॉफिट करने में जुड़ जाते हैं। इनको भी बंदोबस्त करने का काम, इनको भी रोकने का काम गांव के समिति को करना है। The third expectation is put nature, climate and one health approach, integrating animal, environment, human and soil health into the core of our post-COVID-19 recovery and Atmanirbhar Bharat strategy. ये बहुत जरूरी है। एक जीवन के हमारे जीव विविधता एक हिस्सा है, और हमारे स्वास्थ्य से भी उसका संबंध है। और इसलिए आज जो काउंसिल की मीटिंग हो रही, स्टेट बायोडाइवर्सिटी बोर्ड सभी जगह आए हैं। भले वर्चुअल हो, लेकिन अच्छी चर्चा करो। प्रत्यक्ष मिलने में ज्यादा आनंद आता है। अगले वर्ष में निश्चित मिलेंगे, लेकिन तब तक अच्छी चर्चा करो, और चर्चा में जो बिंदु उभरेंगे उसका मैं संज्ञान लूंगा और उस पर हम आगे काम करेंगे। इतना ही कहूंगा। बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं आज के परिषद के लिए और अच्छी चर्चा के लिए। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद। माननीय मंत्री जी ने बहुत सुंदर शब्दों में कहा कि विविधता में एकता हमारे देश की विशेषता। I think words they sum up what we intend to do. He also said about the interrelationships and the interconnectedness of environment, nature and wildlife. And we are very pleased to note that he himself has shown interest in visiting the villages, seeing the process of the PBR formation and understanding that how our village community, how our nature conservers are involved in the process of conservation. And finally saying that mainstreaming biodiversity across all sectors is something which is required. And in a very, very effective manner, he said that we need to put nature, climate, one health approach for integrating the animal, environmental, human, and soil whole issues in the post-COVID strategy, in the post-2020 framework that we are now beginning to formulate and ultimately contributing to Atmanirbhar strategy. So on behalf of all of us, I would like to thank our Honorable Minister for his words of wisdom and practical relevance. And with this, I now invite Dr. Sujit Bajpayee, the Joint Secretary Biodiversity in the Ministry, to propose his vote of thanks for the audience. So over to you, Dr. Bajpayee, please.
Respected Secretary MOEFCC, Shri R.P. Gupta sir, Madam B.V. Uma Devi, Additional Secretary MOEF, Chairperson NBA Dr. V.V. Mathur, senior officials of state governments, various government departments and institutions, esteemed members from state biodiversity boards and UT biodiversity councils, chair and co-chairs of 10 different committees of national biodiversity authorities, distinguished experts and other participants who have joined us today for this 15th annual meet of state biodiversity boards and union territory biodiversity councils. It's my honor and privilege to have this opportunity to propose vote of thanks. First and foremost, I want to express our heartfelt gratitude to Honorable Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change for sharing his thoughts and vision through pre-recorded video message. Sir, you continue to inspire us with your passion for environment and biodiversity conservation. We also express our gratefulness to Secretary Sir for sparing time from his immensely busy schedule to be among us for this important occasion. Sir, your presence as well as your keynote address today clearly shows the importance that the ministry has been giving to the implementation of BD Act in the right spirit. I also wish to thank Madam Uma Devi, Additional Secretary MOEF, for your guidance and leadership in all biodiversity related endeavors of ministry as well as of NBA. Our heartfelt thanks to all eminent experts, chairs and co-chairs of all committees for agreeing to be part of this 2 days annual meet. We are also thankful to all other officials from different agencies and departments of governments who are connected through virtual mode for making this event meaningful by their presence. I also want to compliment and thank to Dr. V.V. Mathur, Chairperson and BA and his team for putting this all together at such a difficult time. I would be failing in my duty if I do not thank IT and NIC team of Ministry and NBA. This program wouldn't have gone so smoothly without their support, so my sincere thanks to them for the same. Lastly, with the prayer that we all come out of this COVID-19 menace at the earliest and next year we meet in person, as Honorable Minister said, thank you all once again for being with us today. Wish you have a meaningful 2 days deliberations and experience sharing. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Bajpayee, for your excellent words of thankfulness to all. And it's my duty to thank you. With this, we would close this session and we are right on time. I would request all of you to now log out from this and join in with the link which has